Welcome to Hidden Life Lessons. Take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the story.
Have you ever noticed something strange? When we're angry, we can break things, slam doors, throw objects, and hurt the people we love the most, all in just a few seconds. But when it comes to saying sorry, when it comes to choosing love over rage, suddenly we freeze. Suddenly, we find a million excuses. Why is that? Today, I'm going to share a story with you that might seem simple on the surface. It's about a young boy, a wise grandfather, and a door. Yes, you heard that right, a door. But by the end of the story, you'll understand that this isn't just about a door or a pair of shoes. This is about every relationship in your life. This is about every moment when you chose anger over peace. This is about the person you're becoming with every reaction you choose. So if you've ever lost your temper and regretted it later, if you've ever hurt someone you love in the heat of the moment, if you've ever wished you could control your emotions better, this story is for you. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you see anger forever. It was a bright Saturday morning, and the sun was streaming through the windows of the old family house. But inside little Lucas's heart, there was no sunshine, only dark clouds of frustration and anger. Lucas was 7 years old, with messy brown hair and bright eyes that usually sparkled with curiosity. But not today. Today, those eyes were filled with tears of frustration. He had been searching for his favorite toy robot for over an hour. It was no ordinary toy. His father had given it to him before leaving for a long business trip overseas. That robot meant the world to Lucas. It was his companion, his friend, his treasure. He had looked everywhere. Under his bed, in the closet, behind the curtains, in the toy box, in the kitchen, even in the bathroom. Nothing. The robot had simply disappeared. And with it, Lucas's patience had vanished too. His mother had tried to help, but Lucas had snapped at her. His little sister had offered to search together, but he had pushed her away. The anger inside him was growing like a wildfire, consuming every bit of calm he had left. Finally, Lucas stomped toward his room, his small fists clenched tight. He was breathing heavily, his face red with rage. As he reached his bedroom door, he didn't just open it. He slammed it with all the force his small body could gather. The door crashed against the wall with a loud bang that echoed through the entire house. But he wasn't done. The shoes on his feet felt tight and uncomfortable, adding to his frustration. He kicked them off violently, sending one flying across the room and the other crashing into the wall. Then, standing in the middle of his room, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "I hate everything. I hate this day. Nobody can help me. Nothing ever goes right." His voice cracked with emotion, and for a moment, he stood there, chest heaving, fists still clenched, feeling like the whole world was against him. Downstairs, sitting peacefully on the old comfortable couch with a book in his hands, was Grandpa Joe. He was a gentle man with silver hair, kind wrinkles around his eyes, and a calmness that seemed to flow from him like a quiet river. He had heard everything, the stomping, the slamming, the shouting, but he didn't rush upstairs. He didn't yell back. He simply closed his book, took a deep breath, and waited. He knew something that Lucas didn't know yet. He knew that anger, when left alone for a few moments, often begins to cool down on its own. He knew that sometimes the best response to a storm is to let it pass. After about 5 minutes, when the house had fallen silent again, Grandpa Joe slowly climbed the stairs. Each step was deliberate, calm, peaceful. He reached Lucas's room and gently pushed open the door that was now slightly ajar. Lucas was sitting on his bed, his head down, his shoulders slumped. The anger had started to fade, replaced now by a deep sadness and a feeling of emptiness. He didn't even look up when Grandpa entered. Grandpa Joe stood at the doorway for a moment, observing the scene. The shoe marks on the wall, the door that had been slammed, and most importantly, the little boy who was learning one of life's hardest lessons. Then, with a small, gentle smile, Grandpa said something that Lucas would never forget for the rest of his life. "Lucas," he said softly, "I need you to do something for me. First, go to that door and say sorry to it. Then, walk over to your shoes and apologize to them too." Lucas's head snapped up. His eyes, still red from holding back tears, widened in complete confusion. He stared at his grandfather as if the old man had just spoken in a foreign language. "What?" Lucas said, his voice a mixture of disbelief and remaining frustration. "Grandpa, are you being serious right now? Say sorry to a door? It's just a piece of wood. And to my shoes? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. They're just things. They don't have feelings. They can't even hear me." Grandpa Joe's smile grew a little wider, but his eyes remained serious and kind. He walked slowly into the room and sat down on the edge of Lucas's bed, right next to the confused boy. "You hit that door in anger, didn't you?" Grandpa asked gently. "You threw those shoes across the room because you were upset, right?" Lucas nodded slowly, not sure where this was going. "Well then," Grandpa continued, "if you can be angry at them, you can also say sorry to them. Think about it, Lucas. If expressing your anger toward these objects feels normal and natural to you, then expressing your regret, your apology, should feel even more natural. Why? Because saying sorry takes real strength. Getting angry is easy. Any fool can get angry. But saying sorry? That's what separates a strong person from a weak one." Lucas looked down at his hands. He had never thought about it that way before. Grandpa's words were starting to make sense, even though they still seemed strange. But Grandpa wasn't finished. He placed a gentle hand on Lucas's shoulder and said something even deeper. "Lucas, my boy, anger is a kind of connection. When you slammed that door, you made a connection with it through your rage. When you threw your shoes, you connected with them through frustration. But here's what I want you to understand. If you can make connections through anger, you can also make connections through love, through kindness, through peace." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Your actions have power, Lucas. If they can hurt and damage, they can also heal and bring peace. The same hands that slammed that door can gently close it. The same feet that kicked those shoes can walk peacefully. The same voice that shouted in anger can speak words of love and calm. You have a choice in every single moment. The question is, which connection do you want to make?" Silence filled the room. Lucas sat there, processing everything his grandfather had just said. It was like a light had been switched on in a dark room. For the first time that morning, he saw things clearly. He realized that his anger hadn't helped him find his toy. It hadn't made him feel better. In fact, it had made everything worse. He had hurt his mother's feelings, pushed his sister away, and filled his own heart with heaviness and regret. Slowly, very slowly, Lucas stood up from his bed. He walked toward the door, his steps small and uncertain. When he reached it, he placed both his small hands on the wooden surface. He could see the mark where it had hit the wall. He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry, door," he whispered, his voice cracking slightly. "I shouldn't have slammed you like that. It wasn't your fault, I was upset." Felt strange at first, talking to a door. But as the words left his mouth, something amazing happened. Lucas felt lighter. A small weight lifted from his chest. Then he walked over to where his shoes lay scattered on the floor. He picked them up gently, one in each hand, and looked at them as if seeing them for the first time. "I'm sorry, shoes," he said, louder this time, more confident. "You didn't deserve to be thrown around. I was angry, but that wasn't right." When he turned back to face his grandfather, there were tears in his eyes, but these weren't tears of anger. These were tears of understanding, of growth, of something changing deep inside him. Grandpa Joe stood up and walked over to Lucas. He wrapped his arms around the boy in a warm, strong hug that made Lucas feel safe and loved. "I'm so proud of you, Lucas," Grandpa said, his own voice thick with emotion. "Do you know why? Because what you just did took real courage. You faced your anger. You acknowledged your mistake. You chose love over pride. That, my dear boy, is real strength. That's the mark of a truly strong person." They sat back down together on the bed, and Grandpa Joe knew this was the moment to share the deeper wisdom, the lesson that could change Lucas's entire life. "Lucas, look at me," Grandpa said gently. "I want to tell you something very important about the world we live in." Lucas looked up, his full attention on his grandfather. "There's already so much anger in this world," Grandpa began. So much hate, so much fighting, so much pain. People hurt each other with words and actions every single day. Families fall apart because of anger. Friendships end because of rage. Wars start because people can't control their tempers. The world is drowning in anger, Lucas. Drowning. He paused, making sure Lucas was really listening. But here's the secret that most people never learn. You cannot fight fire with fire. You cannot put out flames by adding more flames. You need water. You need something completely different. And in the same way, you cannot stop anger with more anger. You cannot heal hate with more hate. The only thing that can truly defeat anger is love. The only thing that can overcome hate is forgiveness. The only thing that can bring peace is kindness. Lucas's eyes were wide, absorbing every word. When someone is angry at you, your first instinct might be to get angry back. When someone hurts you, you might want to hurt them too. But that's the easy path, Lucas. That's the path that leads nowhere good. The hard path, the brave path, the path that actually changes things, that's the path of love. That's the path of saying, I choose peace over revenge. I choose understanding over anger. I choose love over hate. Lucas felt something powerful stirring in his heart. He understood now. This wasn't just about a door or shoes or a lost toy. This was about who he wanted to be as a person. I'll try, Grandpa, Lucas said, his voice steady and determined. I'll really try. When I feel angry, I'll remember this. I'll remember that I have a choice. I'll try to choose love instead of anger. Grandpa Joe smiled, a tear rolling down his cheek. That's all any of us can do, Lucas. Try. Every single day we wake up and try again. Some days we'll succeed. Some days we'll fail. But as long as we keep trying, as long as we keep choosing love over anger, we're making the world a little bit better. He stood up and looked out the window at the bright sunny day. You know what I believe? Grandpa said. I believe that if each person in this world decided to reduce their anger just a little bit and increase their love just a little bit, everything would change. The world would transform. Peace would actually become possible. It starts with small things like apologizing to a door, or taking a deep breath before yelling, or choosing kind words when you want to say cruel ones. Small things, Lucas, but small things done by millions of people, that changes everything. And then, as if the universe was responding to this beautiful lesson, Lucas spotted something from the corner of his eye. There, under his desk, partially hidden by a fallen piece of paper, was his toy robot. It had been there all along. But somehow, in this moment, Lucas realized something profound. Finding the toy didn't matter as much as finding this lesson. The robot would bring him joy for a few years. But what Grandpa had taught him today, that would guide him for a lifetime. From this story, we learned something that could transform every relationship in your life, every challenge you face, every moment of frustration you experience. The lesson is this: it's absolutely okay to feel angry. Anger is a human emotion. We all feel it. But here's what separates extraordinary people from ordinary ones. It's not whether you feel anger, it's what you do with that anger. It's how you handle it. It's whether you let it control you or whether you control it. You see, when you're angry, you have incredible power. In that moment of rage, you can destroy relationships that took years to build. You can say words that can never be taken back. You can create wounds that might never fully heal. But that same power, that same energy can be redirected. It can be transformed into something beautiful. Instead of breaking things, you can build things. Instead of hurting people, you can help them. Instead of spreading anger like a virus, you can spread love like medicine. Think about your own life right now. How many times have you regretted something you said in anger? How many relationships have suffered because you couldn't control your temper? How many opportunities have you lost because you let rage make your decisions? But here's the beautiful truth. Today can be different. This moment right now can be the turning point. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to never feel angry again. You just need to make a decision that when anger comes, and it will come, you'll pause, you'll breathe, you'll remember that you have a choice. You can choose to respond with love. You can choose to respond with understanding. You can choose to respond with patience. And every time you make that choice, you become stronger. Every time you choose love over anger, you become more in control of your life. You become the person you were always meant to be. Remember, listening to stories is wonderful. It's entertaining. It's inspiring. But learning from stories, applying the lessons to your real life, that's where the real magic happens. That's where transformation begins. That's how we grow from who we are into who we're capable of becoming. So I challenge you today. The next time you feel anger rising inside you, remember Lucas and the door. Remember that you have a choice. Remember that real strength isn't in how hard you can hit or how loud you can yell. It's in how calmly you can respond when everything inside you wants to explode. If this story touched your heart, if you learned something valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts or a time when you chose love over anger. Hit that like button if you believe that love really can change the world. We'll see you in the next story with another powerful life lesson. Until then, take care of yourself, be kind to others, and remember, every single day you get to choose. Choose love. Choose peace. Choose to be the change you want to see in this world. Because love, my friend, really can change everything. Changed Lucas, can change you. And together, one choice at a time, it can change the world.